Philip G. with Bo Gavin and Beautiful Entertainment. And we're here at Deja Vue in Dayton, Ohio. And today we have the distinct pleasure of talking to Dr. Umar Johnson.
Yes, sir.
How you living, brother?
How we doing, black man? Glad to be here. Glad to be in Dayton, first time. Thanks to the family for coming out. Really enjoyed myself. Very great experience.
Now, your first name is Umar.
Yes, sir.
Does that have a meaning?
Yes, Umar means lifetime or endless, never ceasing.
Tell us about you. Like
Okay.
maybe your family, your mother, your father,
Yeah.
family life, school, sports, college.
I was born in the ghetto of North Philadelphia, Bill Cosby's neighborhood. One of 11 children. I'm the oldest boy. Always wanted to be a psychologist since I was in 3rd grade. 4th and 5th grade, we had a mandatory Black history class in my elementary school that introduced me to Black consciousness. There was also a Black history oratorical contest in that school, and that introduced me to public speaking. So 3rd grade, I decided to be a psychologist. 4th and 5th grade, I got introduced to Black consciousness and public speaking. And then 6th grade, I found out I was related to Frederick Douglass. So in many ways, I could probably say my whole life path was set for me by the time I left elementary school.
Right. Who do you listen to, like any of your contemporaries?
Dr. Claude Anderson. Who am I leaving out? Him more than anyone else. Most of the other scholars that I listen to are all deceased. Dr. Amos Wilson, who I consider to be the greatest Black scholar in modern history. Extremely practical, although he was a psychologist. In many respects, he's my predecessor, if you would. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing was also very instrumental. But of course, Amos Wilson would probably be more of my intellectual pedigree. Although Dr. Wilson is still a mental scientist. Although Dr. Welsing is still a mental scientist, she was psychiatry. Amos Wilson and I, Dr. Amos Wilson and I, we were psychology.
You talked about voting
Yes.
in your speech. Now, you know, I was in LA, and on the wall, someone had scrolled, it said, voting is the wrong arena. We got to take it to another level. Now, what would you think that other level would be?
I believe that voting can be a very good strategy that supplements our own independent political economic program. The problem is we want to make voting the goal in and of itself. Voting isn't going to transform anything for Black people unless it is coupled with a Black agenda. The Black agenda, or voting rather, must have a Black agenda attached to it, or it's useless. Because if there's no Black agenda attached to it, what are we voting for? See, we've made voting a way of life as opposed to a tactic that helps us achieve our goals. Black people have a bad habit of making tactics ways of life and goals. For example, nonviolence. Nonviolence ain't a way of life, it's a tactic. And you cannot choose the tactics for war until you've made a thorough assessment of that war. Black people come to the war without any assessment, predetermining that we're going to vote our way out of this and that we're going to use nonviolence as a means out of this, no matter what the situation may be. That's political and military ignorance. Tactics cannot be chosen before there's a thorough assessment of the war terrain. So for me, in order for voting to work, we must organize the Black vote. We must vote along racial lines. We must divest from the Democratic and Republican Party, and we must create an independent Black political union. We don't need a Black party. I'm not against the Black party, but I don't need a Black face. I want Black power that controls the face no matter what color it is. I don't care if the president or the governor or the senator is Mexican, Arab, Chinese, Jew, Anglo-Saxon. I'm going to control you with my power. See, I don't need a Black man up there. I don't mind one, but I don't need a Black man up there. I just want to know that we got the influence to dictate behavior. Power is the ability to dictate another's behavior, to make them do something that they don't even want to do because they don't want to face your consequences. Voting is a tactic. It is not a way of life. Nothing Black people have gotten in our 400 years has come to us by voting. If somebody can name something we've gotten of significance that come by voting, I would like to know what it is. We got out of slavery through fighting. We got the Civil Rights Bill through fighting. We got the Voting Rights Act through fighting. We destroyed Jim Crow through fighting. Everything we got through blood.
Right.
Nothing was done with a ballot.
Right. You spoke a little bit about religion.
Yes, sir.
Can you expound on that a little
Sure, I support religion, or should I say I respect religion, as long as that religion caters to a Black agenda. Christianity ain't my problem. It's the Christian pastor whose interpretation of Christianity is along a colorblind, multicultural continuum and paradigm. If you're using Christianity as a black liberation theology, like Marcus Garvey did, or Henry Highland Garnett, or Alexander Crummell, as most of my Pan-African forefathers were Christians, but they used it from a black liberation theology. That's not what's going on today. Black pastors are literally putting black people to sleep long enough to be exterminated.
Now, next month here in Dayton, the Klan is coming to Dayton. What do you think the black people's response to that should be?
I think that one or two things: we either resist it directly, or we have a counter march of our own, one or the other. But it cannot go unaddressed.
Okay. Man, you come pretty strong. You come real strong. You ever fear for your life?
Do I have a fear for my life? Well, yesterday in Cleveland, it wasn't a direct death threat, but it was a well-worded threat of harm. Came to me anonymously while I was backstage waiting to go out to speak. I don't really fear for my life. I stay disciplined, because when I look at two of my heroes, El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, Malcolm X, and the late great Dr. King, and I study what their allies and associates and comrades and security and friends had to say about them, particularly in the last year of their life. And from what I saw, they kind of felt that they became so paranoid and overcome with the threat of death that they kind of wished it on themselves to put an end to the terrorism of it. You know, I never want to get so afraid for my safety that it paralyzes my ability to work. You know, so for me, I don't really think too much about that. I just try to do as best as I can on the security end. When Brother Nipsey passed away a couple weeks ago, rest in peace, you know, that really woke me up. Because when I saw that video, I said, that could have been me, because this is how I roll through the hood. I'm solo. I hang out in the park a lot. I talk to the brothers. And when I saw what happened to Nipsey, I said, Dr. Umar, you have to switch things up a little bit. You know what I mean? Because you're too important. You can't just be that vulnerable like that. So I am going to have to make some changes. But at the end of the day, you know, I will live by the words of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, who said, yes, some of us are going to die in this struggle. Blood must be shed. The unfortunate thing is not that we die, is that we don't get another replacement for almost 50 years. You follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know, you look at me from a Garvey, that's 100 years. You look at me from a Malcolm, that's 50 years. A King, that's 50 years. Not to say that I'm their replacement, but look at how much time goes by before you get somebody to pick up that baton. It's not that we die, it's that nobody picks up the baton right after we pass on. We got to wait 50 years for a replacement. How you going to catch up going slower than your opponent? You got to outrun him. So I don't worry about it. I do believe I got a degree of protection around me, and I do have a lot of faith in the fact that I'm one of the few Pan-Africanists of notoriety, if you look at the pantheon of great Pan-Africanists who actually embrace a traditional African spiritual foundation. Most of my predecessors were Muslims or Christians. I actually studied the Yoruba spiritual system of Ifa, and I think that because I'm one of the first to get away from that Christian-Muslim dictatorship over Pan-Africanist leaders' personal religious system and going to a more traditional one, I think that gives me a certain degree of ashe and power. And I think I'm also protected by the fact that I would be lying, and I hope it doesn't sound arrogant, but I do believe that I was absolutely born to do the work that I do. I don't think it's no coincidence that I'm related to Frederick Douglass. I don't think it's no coincidence that I was born on Nat Turner's birthday, or not his birthday, but the date of the revolution's birthday. You know, so because of that, I think God is going to, usher me to the destiny before he takes me.
What's your perception of black people on the world stage?
We don't get respect. I done been to every continent, spoke on every continent except Australia and Antarctica, of course, because there's no humans there, and we're not respected. Whenever I travel the world, I've learned 3 things about us, brother. 3 things, and it echoes what Mr. Garvey used to say. One thing, anywhere you go in the world, black children are being taught along someone else's curriculum for someone else's agenda. There's not a place in the world systematically where the black people in that city, that town, that state, that nation are being educated for a black agenda. Everywhere you go, even Africa, we're being educated for someone else's agenda. Number 2, wherever you go in the world, black people are worshiping a white Jesus. Number 3, wherever you go in the world, including Africa, black men are being locked up like it's no tomorrow. Mass incarceration is an international reality. In reality number 4, wherever I go in the world, someone else is controlling the black economy. Nowhere you go do we control the economy where we live, even in Africa.
Sad, isn't it?
It's an international Holocaust.
You believe in genetic memory?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
All right. Only a couple more questions. And this one sounds, kind of silly because of what you say, but what do you feel your life work or your mission really is?
I flirt with that because I know it is to do something significant to make a stride towards the total liberation of the African family globally. I do know that. Education, the school that I'm building, I think it's a part of it. I don't think it's the whole thing though. It's critical, it's important. It's a significant step forward. And once we start putting them schools all over the African world, that's going to be a beautiful thing. Right. But as I've been told by so many elders, that's a part of your mission. It ain't the whole mission.
Right.
I think I'm also supposed to be used for something grander. I don't know what it is yet. I don't know. Sometimes I think that maybe one of the African heads of state are going to invite me over there to be Minister of Education of the country. I just think it's going to be something even greater than what we're doing with FDMG. I just don't know what it is yet.
Right. Last question. Now, you know you're in the land of the funk, right?
What's that?
The home of the funk.
Get out of here.
The Ohio Players, Slave.
Okay.
You know.
Okay,
Dayton is the
okay,
home,
okay,
Dayton is
okay.
The land. This is the home of the funk, man.
I didn't know that. Okay, that didn't hit my memory. All right. Dayton, get out of here.
Hey, man, look, you name it, man. This is where funk was nurtured.
Oh, man, Papa.
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
We even have a funk museum, man.
Get out of here.
Yes, sir.
Oh, man.
So, give me two funk that you like. Two.
Earth, Wind, and Fire wouldn't qualify.
Well, they're qualified.
And George Clinton.
My man. Good interview. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Papa.
All right.